9 Things That Don't Matter After 70. Grace Harper stood on the weathered porch of her cottage in Bar Harbor, Maine, the Atlantic Ocean stretching before her like a silver mirror under the dawn's first light. At 72, she'd learned to treasure these moments, her coffee steaming, her dog Max snoring at her feet, the salty breeze weaving through her silver hair. Life hadn't always felt so unburdened. Decades ago, she'd carried weights she barely noticed. The need for others' approval, the clutter of possessions, the tug of endless obligations. But in her golden years, Grace had shed what no longer served her, embracing a freedom that felt like waking from a long sleep. This is her story, a tapestry of 9 truths she's come to live by. Truths that echo for anyone navigating the beauty and clarity of aging in America, showing how letting go can weave a life of joy, peace, and purpose. 1. Worrying about what others think. Grace grew up in Evanston, Illinois, a Chicago suburb where tidy lawns and polite smiles were social currency. In the 1970s, as a young wife and mother, she learned to shape herself to others' expectations. She wore tailored dresses to church, not for comfort, but because her mother deemed them proper. Her house stayed immaculate, a stray toy in the yard unthinkable. Neighbors might talk. Choosing accounting as a career wasn't about passion. It was her father's nod for a stable path. Appearances mattered, and Grace paid the price. Her divorce at 38 cracked that careful facade. In Evanston's tight-knit world, a single mother was a curiosity, and Grace felt the sting of judgment. Neighbors whispered about her failed marriage. Friends offered pitying glances. She worked harder to prove herself. Perfect mom, reliable accountant, gracious hostess. By her 50s, she was still chasing approval. She dyed her hair chestnut to hide grays, softened her opinions at book club, and shied from hobbies like yoga, fearing she'd look clumsy. What will people think was a constant hum, dictating her clothes, her words, her dreams. The shift began in her 60s, when the weight grew too heavy. At 65, she stunned her sister by quitting her corporate job and moving to Maine. "Why Bar Harbor?" her sister asked, eyebrows raised. "Because I want to," Grace replied, the words feeling bold and true. The ocean, the pines, the slower pace called her. She bought a weathered cottage with peeling paint and a view of the sea and started painting, despite a friend's quip that it was too late to be an artist. Each choice was a quiet rebellion against the old rules. Now at 72, Grace laughs at her younger self's fears. "Who cares if Karen down the street thinks my garden's a mess?" she says, tossing wildflower seeds across her yard. Her garden blooms with lupines, daisies, and black-eyed Susans, wild and alive. She's let her hair go silver, its strands glinting like sea glass in the Maine sun. She wears flowy dresses, sneakers, a straw hat, and speaks her mind. Whether it's about the town's new parking rules or the best lobster roll, Captain Nemo's hands down. Letting go wasn't a single moment, but a gradual unraveling. Last summer, her seascape hung in a Bar Harbor gallery. A woman sniffed. Bold for an amateur, old Grace would have crumbled. New Grace smiled. "Thanks for looking." She's weathered divorce, raised 2 kids alone, survived corporate grind. No one's opinion defines her worth. Her friend Ellen, 75, mirrors this freedom. After her husband passed, Ellen ditched muted suits for a cherry red coat. "It's me," she told Grace over coffee, her grin infectious. Grace sees it in others. Tom, 80, telling bawdy jokes at the diner, unbothered by stares. Laura, 71, singing off-key at karaoke, radiant. After 70, you see approval is a trap. Grace wakes each day asking, what do I want? Not, what will they think? It's like shedding a heavy coat in spring, and the lightness feels like flying. 2. Chasing more stuff. Grace's Evanston house was a shrine to accumulation. Closets overflowed with clothes, bell-bottoms from Kukinen. The 70s, power suits from the 90s, dresses she swore she'd wear again. The garage held 3 lawnmowers, a broken treadmill, boxes of just-in-case items, old cables, half-used paint cans, a fondue pot from a long-gone trend. The basement was a maze of Christmas decorations, her kids' school projects, furniture too heavy to move. Ads promised happiness through things, and Grace bought in. In her 30s, she chased the American dream, a bigger house, a shiny sedan, a KitchenAid mixer in avocado green. Each purchase sparked joy, but it faded fast. By her 40s, she upgraded, a leather couch, a bigger TV, hoping to feel successful. In her 50s, the thrill was gone, but the habit lingered. She'd buy throw pillows, a new lamp, chasing a fleeting high. Her house became a museum of past selves, crowded and heavy. When she moved to Maine at 65, downsizing forced a reckoning. 3 coffee makers? She laughed, shaking her head. Packing up, she felt each item's weight. Not just physical, but emotional. The china set from her marriage carried pain. Designer bags she'd saved for felt irrelevant in Bar Harbor. She spent weeks sorting, donating clothes to Goodwill, selling furniture on Craigslist, recycling old electronics. Her kids took a few keepsakes, the rest went. Her cottage is sparse but warm, wood floors, her mother's quilt, an easel by the window. She kept what she loves, a shelf of novels, a cast-iron skillet, a photo of her kids at Lake Michigan. Decluttering wasn't just about space, it was about her soul. High heels worn to impress clients, donated, a filing cabinet stuffed with tax returns, shredded. With less to dust or organize, Grace feels unburdened. She walks the beach daily, her pension spent on experiences, art classes, lobster dinners, trips to see her son in Denver, not things. Her neighbor Sam, 78, had a similar epiphany. He sold his sprawling farmhouse, donating half his belongings to a veterans charity. I don't miss a thing, he says, sipping coffee on Grace's porch. A 2018 AARP survey found 60% of retirees feel happier after downsizing, and Grace gets why. Her cottage, with its open space and sea breeze, is a sanctuary. Less stuff, more life, she says, her smile wide. She thinks of her Evanston days, hours spent cleaning, repairing, rearranging. Now she'd rather watch gulls wheel over the harbor than polish silverware. Her friend Laura, 71, sold her collection of porcelain figurines, using the money for a cruise. I'd rather see the world than dust bunnies, Laura quips. Possessions can trap you. Mortgages, maintenance, memories. Grace's life is richer with less, a truth she wishes she'd known sooner. 3. Saying yes to everything. Grace used to be a yes machine. Family barbecues, church bake sales, work fundraisers. She'd show up, tray of brownies in hand, even when exhausted. In her 40s, she drove 2 hours for a cousin's baby shower, dreading the chit-chat. She hosted Thanksgiving for 20, her kitchen a war zone, because saying no felt like letting people down. Obligation was her compass, and it pointed everywhere but inward. By her 50s, cracks appeared. She'd sit at a neighborhood potluck, forcing a smile as someone droned about property taxes. wishing she were home with a book. But guilt kept her there. Guilt and the fear of seeming rude. She said yes to office happy hours, school committees, even a book club she'd outgrown, all to keep the peace. Moving to Maine at 65 was her first big no. She left behind Evanston's social whirl, choosing a quieter life, but old habits lingered. In Bar Harbor, she joined a community garden, a historical society, a knitting circle. More out of duty than desire. At 70, she drew a line. Last summer, she skipped the town's annual clam bake, a loud affair that left her drained. Instead, she walked the shore with Max, the sunset painting the sky orange. I felt so light, she recalls. She'll fly to Boston for her grandson's soccer game, cheering until she's hoarse, but passes on distant relatives' reunions. She picks book club meetings over coffee chats with gossipy neighbors, choosing discussions about novels over complaints about tourists. Her friends respect her boundaries, and she's fully present for what she chooses. Saying no isn't selfish, it's survival. Time is finite, and at 72, Grace spends it wisely. Her friend Mike, 73, used to attend every Rotary Club meeting out of duty. He quit last year, trading speeches for birdwatching. I saw a puffin, he told Grace, eyes bright, showing her a photo. A 2020 Pew study found 70% of seniors feel more fulfilled when they prioritize personal time. Grace understands. Saying no lets her say yes to what sparks joy, painting a stormy sea, hiking Acadia's trails, or curling up with Max in a mystery novel. It's not about cutting ties. It's about choosing what feeds her soul. She remembers a winter night last year when she declined a holiday party. She lit a fire, played jazz, and sketched Max sleeping. The peace was profound. Her old self would have gone, worried about offending the host. Now she knows her energy is precious. Saying no is her superpower, and she wields it with quiet confidence. 4. Chasing youthful looks. In her 50s, Grace waged war on aging. She bought anti-wrinkle creams by the dozen. Their promises erased 10 years, stacked in her bathroom. She spent hours at the salon, covering grays with chestnut dye that stained her scalp. Magazine ads and TV commercials screamed that beauty meant smooth skin, a slim waist, no lines. She envied women who looked 30, feeling invisible as her face changed. At work, younger colleagues got promotions, while Grace felt sidelined. Society made aging feel like failure, especially for women. In her 60s, she considered Botox, even a facelift, but the cost, thousands of dollars, stopped her. For what? She asked herself. The turning point came at 70, after settling in Bar Harbor. One morning, brushing her silver hair, she paused. This is me, she thought, and it felt true. She stopped dyeing it, letting the gray shine like sea glass. These lines, she says now, touching her face, they're from laughing with my kids, crying through my divorce, squinting at sunsets. Her wrinkles are a map of her life, crow's feet from joy, forehead lines from worry, smile lines from love. She wears them like medals. Authentic beauty isn't about looking young. It's about being real. Grace sees it in her friend Ellen, 75, who ditched makeup and bought a red coat that screams confidence. It's me, Ellen says, and Grace nods. She sees it in Tom, 80 at the diner, whose kind eyes draw strangers like moths, or Laura, 71, whose laugh fills a room, lines and all. Grace stopped hiding her age. No more foundation to mask freckles, no Spanx to squeeze into. She walks Bar Harbor's streets, silver hair loose, feeling seen. A 2019 Dove study found 80% of women over 65 feel more confident embracing their natural look, and Grace is one of them. She remembers a moment last fall, catching her reflection in a shop window. Her face, lined, weathered, alive, felt beautiful. Not airbrushed, but earned. She thinks of her daughter, who at 45 still frets over aging. You'll see, Grace tells her, it's not about looking young, it's about living true. Her beauty routine is simple. Sunscreen, a swipe of lipstick if she's feeling fancy, a smile always. She's traded salons for sea air, and her glow comes from within, painting, laughing, breathing free. Aging isn't a battle, it's a story, and Grace tells hers proudly. 5. Sticking to old hobbies. Grace loved knitting in her 40s. She'd sit in her Evanston living room, needles clicking, crafting scarves for her kids, blankets for friends, even a sweater for Max. It was her escape, yarn soft under her fingers, the rhythm soothing after long days at work. She'd knit through PTA meetings, soccer games, late-night worries. It defined her, or so she thought. By her 60s, the spark faded. Her hands ached with early arthritis, and the yarn piled up, untouched in a basket. She kept at it out of guilt. Knitting was her thing. Quitting felt like betraying herself, or the memory of who she'd been. She'd force herself to cast on, only to unravel half-finished projects, frustrated. At 71, she let it go. I don't have to knit to be me, she decided, packing the yarn away. She donated it to the Bar Harbor Library's craft group, feeling lighter. That summer, she tried watercolor painting, inspired by Maine's rocky coast. Her first stroke, blue bleeding into white, thrilled her. Now her cottage is filled with seascapes, stormy waves, rosy dawn, some good, some messy, all hers. Knitting's gone, but joy's back. After 70, you see hobbies aren't forever. Clinging to them out of habit steals time from new passions. Grace's friend Mike, 73, quit golf after 30 years. It was a slog, he admits, showing her a photo of a bald eagle he spotted birdwatching. Laura, 71, swapped gardening for pottery, her hands now shaping clay instead of soil. I'm learning again, Laura says, proud of a lopsided bowl. Painting shifts Grace's perspective. A lighthouse becomes a study in shadow, a gull, a curve of white. It's not about mastery, it's about feeling alive. She's curious about writing next, maybe poetry inspired by the tide. At 72, the world feels full of possibilities. She thinks of her old knitting basket, now someone else's treasure. Letting go wasn't loss, it was space for growth. Grace remembers a spring day, painting on her porch as Max napped. The sea glittered, and her brush danced. Bold greens, wild purples, no rules. Her younger self would have stuck to knitting, afraid to fail at something new. Now failure's just part of the fun. Hobbies evolve like people, and Grace loves who she's becoming. 6th, holding onto toxic ties. Grace had a cousin, Linda, who could wound with a word. Every call was a barrage. Grace's career was boring, her parenting too soft, her move to Maine selfish. In Evanston, Linda's holiday visits were dreaded rituals. She'd criticize Grace's cooking, her kids' manners, her life choices, all with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. Grace endured it, believing family was sacred. She'd bite her tongue, clean up after Linda's chaos, and feel smaller each time. For years, she kept the connection out of duty. She's family, Grace told herself, even as Linda's words stung. She'd lie awake after calls, replaying Barb's, "You're wasting your life up there." By her 60s, the toll was clear: stress, headaches, a knot in her chest. At 70, she drew a line. I deserve peace, she decided. She stopped taking Linda's calls, replying only with polite texts or a yearly Christmas card. It wasn't anger. It was self-respect. Letting go was hard. Family ties run deep, and guilt gnawed at first. But the relief was instant. Grace poured energy into people who lift her up. Her kids, who call weekly, her book club, where debates spark laughter, her neighbor Sam, who trades garden tips over coffee. Her cottage is a haven for those who celebrate her. Ellen's warmth, Tom's stories, Laura's hugs. Life's too short for people who dim your light. Grace's friend Ellen faced a similar choice, distancing herself from a judgmental sister. I feel lighter, Ellen says, and Grace nods. A 2021 AARP study found 65% of seniors report better mental health after limiting toxic relationships. Grace feels it. Without Linda's venom, she laughs louder, paints bolder, sleeps deeper. Her days are filled with connection. Her grandson's texts, Sam's fishing tales, book club debates about Austen versus Bronte. She thinks of a summer evening, hosting friends on her porch. Lanterns glowed, wine flowed, and laughter carried over the harbor. Linda's absence was a gift. No tension, just joy. Grace still hopes Linda finds peace, but it's not her job to fix her. Choosing who gets your time is power, and at 72, Grace wields it with quiet strength. 7. Comparing yourself to others. In her 50s, Grace envied her Evanston neighbor, Susan. Susan's colonial house sparkled. Her vacations were Caribbean cruises. Her kids went to Yale and Brown. Grace lay awake, worrying her life didn't measure up. Her ranch house, her used Honda, her community college degree. She'd tally her savings against Susan's, feeling small. Comparison was a thief, stealing her joy, blinding her to her own blessings. Moving to Maine helped. Bar Harbor's mix of fishermen, artists, and retirees showed her no life is better, just different. At 72, she's done comparing. Susan's path isn't mine, she says. Her cottage, her pension, her quiet days, they're enough. After 70, you see everyone's journey is unique. Comparing yourself is like judging a pine against an oak. Pointless. Grace's blessings are hers, raising 2 kids alone, surviving lean years, finding peace by the sea. She stopped scrolling social media, where curated lives fueled doubt. Now she savors her story, messy, real, hers. Her friend Tom, 80, learned this too. He used to compare his diner job to his brother's CEO career. I wasted years, he says, now content pouring coffee for regulars. A 2020 Gallup poll found 75% of seniors feel more content when they stop measuring against others. Grace remembers a fall day, walking the shore with Max. A yacht glided by, its owners waving. Old Grace might have envied their wealth. New Grace waved back, happy with her sneakers in the sand. Her life, her kids' calls, her paintings, her view of the harbor, is rich in ways no one else can claim. Comparison's a thief, but at 72, she's locked it out. She thinks of her daughter, who at 45 frets over promotions. You're enough, Grace tells her, meaning it. Her cottage hums with contentment, a half-finished canvas, a dog at her feet, a life that fits. Letting go of comparison is freedom, and Grace lives it every day. 8. Clinging to old goals. Grace once dreamed of corporate glory. In her 40s, she chased promotions, staying late to crunch numbers, eyeing a corner office. Success meant a title, a fat 401k, a nameplate that said senior manager. It defined her worth, or so she thought. She'd skip her kids' recitals for meetings, believing it was for them. By her 50s, the shine faded. Meetings bored her, stress gnawed her health, but she pushed on, afraid to let go. At 60, she questioned it. Who am I climbing for? She wondered. When she moved to Maine, she quit. At 70, those goals feel alien. Success now is painting a sunrise, teaching her grandson to bait a hook, sipping coffee as gulls cry overhead. After 70, you redefine what matters. It's not giving up, it's growing. Grace's friend Laura, 71, let go of running a marathon. My knees said no, she laughs. She walks the beach instead, savoring the waves' rhythm. Mike, 73, abandoned his dream of a second home. Too much work, he says, happy with his condo and birding trips. Redefining goals means chasing joy, not pressure. Grace loves her new priorities. She's planning a trip to Seattle to see her daughter, not to impress anyone, but because it feels right. She's sketching a series of lighthouses, not for a gallery, but for herself. A 2019 AARP survey found 70% of retirees find meaning in personal goals over professional ones. Grace's cottage is proof: paintbrushes, sea air, a calendar marked with grandkids' visits, not deadlines. She thinks of her old self, chained to a desk, chasing a title. Now she measures success by laughter, by colors on a canvas, by Max's wagging tail. Letting go of old goals freed her to live now, not for a future that might never come. It's wisdom, and she wears it lightly. 9. Feeling guilty for putting yourself first. Grace spent decades putting others first. She raised her kids alone, working double shifts to pay bills. She nursed her parents through illness, drove friends to chemo, hosted family holidays even when exhausted. Selflessness was her badge, her armor, but it left her empty. Her own needs, rest, dreams, quiet, were buried under everyone else's. At 70, she rewrote that story. Last year, she took a solo trip to Acadia National Park. She hiked Cadillac Mountain, ate lobster rolls at a roadside stand, watched stars blanket the sky. Guilt tugged at first. Shouldn't she be with her kids? But the joy of those days silenced it. My happiness matters, she realized, and it changed everything. Prioritizing herself isn't selfish, it's essential. When Grace takes time, painting, reading, walking with Max, she's better for everyone. Her kids love her spark. Her friends feed off her energy. A 2021 Pew study found 80% of seniors feel more fulfilled when they balance self-care with giving. Grace sees it. Last month, she joined an art class, not for anyone else, but because it lit her up. Her seascapes got bolder, her laugh louder. Her friend Ellen felt the same shift. After years of caregiving, Ellen started yoga at 75. I'm stronger, she says, and her family agrees. Grace's cottage balances both worlds: space for her, love for others. She hosted her book club last week, serving pie and stories, but skipped a draining town meeting the next day. Putting herself first fills her cup, letting her give more. Grace remembers a winter night, painting alone as snow fell. Jazz played softly, Max snored, and her brush danced. Blues, greens, a hint of starlight. She felt whole. Her old self would have felt guilty, thinking of others' needs. Now she knows her joy is a gift to everyone. It's not weakness, it's wisdom. And at 72, she owns it. Living lightly in your golden years. Grace Harper's story is America's story, millions hitting their 70s, shedding what weighs them down. In Bar Harbor, Her cottage hums with life, paintings on the walls, coffee brewing, Max napping by the fire. She's let go of others' opinions, excess stuff, draining ties. She embraces her wrinkles, her passions, her right to say no. Life after 70 isn't about accumulation. It's about appreciation. It's not about pleasing everyone. It's about peace. Grace walks the shore, the tide a steady pulse, and knows she's enough. Her story echoes in small towns and big cities, from Maine's coast to California's valleys. At 70, you've earned the right to live lightly, intentionally, fully. Grace does, her days bright with laughter and sea air. It's a quiet revolution, and it's yours to claim. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this, please like and share with your friends. Your support keeps these stories alive. Don't forget to subscribe so you never miss a new episode. And if today's story touched your heart, leave a comment. I'd love to hear from you. Take care, stay well, and see you in the next story.